Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work. But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence, the bushes empty. Yet determined to find the berries, the rascal broke free of Mother's grasp and vanished into the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast as the girl ran on, over vine, under branch, and into the forest deep.
What is it with that creepy story?
It's just a local tale.
You're really into that stuff?
Quit being so paranoid.
No! Friendly! Friendly! Who are you? Who sent you? What's going on? They're coming. Who is? Chris? Sorry, Ethan. Why?
Hi, I'm Tsuyoshi Kanda, producer on Resident Evil Village.
And I'm Pete Fabiano, also producer on Resident Evil Village.
We hope you all had the chance to check out and enjoy our trailer.
Some of you are probably wondering why we didn't just call the game Resident Evil 8.
Well, it's still the 8th in the series, and we're treating it as such. You can even see the Roman numeral 8 in the game logo, so it's Resident Evil 8, just not in name.
Yeah, I like the play on the design and the simplicity in the name. But we'll touch more on that a little later. For now, why don't we just jump in and let viewers know a little bit more about the game itself.
First off, Resident Evil Village will be available on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and Steam.
Right, and in line with previous Resident Evil titles, we're using RE Engine. That engine brought Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, and most recently, Resident Evil 3 to life. We were able to take all that we learned from those titles, along with our internal development efforts, and optimize the latest version of the engine for the next generation of consoles.
With the combined power of Next Gen and RE Engine, we can take our developers' vision to new heights. Once again, we're planning a fresh take on survival horror, this time upping the ante on action a bit.
Realistic graphics and immersive audio, coupled with no load times, will really draw you into the world we've created for Resident Evil Village.
Speaking of which, the game takes place a few years after the events of Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Right, and it follows the story of protagonist Ethan Winters. Ethan's gone back to living an ordinary life, but of course, it wouldn't be a proper story without a new challenge to overcome. Chris Redfield, a decorated hero fighting against bioterrorism, makes his return, but not in the way you'd think. He's the reason Ethan's life gets turned upside down. Let's take a look at some key art.
You can see Chris looking dark and far more brooding than in earlier Resident Evil appearances.
The last thing worth mentioning in terms of characters here is the village itself.
It plays such a crucial role as the backdrop and setting of the game that we consider it very much its own character as well. Right, shifting gears, let's talk a bit about the game's design.
You'll notice the familiar first-person perspective from Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. It really helps bring players into the world. It makes them feel like they are Ethan, with the same sense of heightened tension and fear.
Here's a quick look at the game running in engine.
The team is working really hard to create a great experience. You can really see the details, even close up. Let's take a look at the inventory. For players familiar with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, or the recent versions of Resident Evil 2 and 3, you'll be right at home.
We hope you enjoyed this additional look into Resident Evil Village.
Oh, and here's one more piece of key art. You might want to pay extra close attention to this one.
There's a lot that's being shown in it. So much so that we debated whether or not to actually put it in the announced trailer.
Take a look and let your imagination run wild.
We are aiming to have more to show you towards the end of summer.
So, until next time.
All clear. Come on, move! Chris? What the hell? Take him away.
In life and in death, we give glory. The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again!
Mia.
Quit being so paranoid. Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work. But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence, the bushes empty. Yet determined to find the berries, the rascal broke free of Mother's grasp and vanished into the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast as the girl ran on, over vine, under branch, and into the forest deep.
And in death, we give you glory. Mother Miranda.
It's just a local tale.
If it's just looking, window shop away.
こんなとこまで作り込んでんだみたいな。堂々それ以上の怖いパートは必ずあるの。
Beautiful, yet terrifying.
恐ろしく美しい村。イーサンの全てを描ききる作品。バイオ7作った時にそのイーサンってキャラクターはある種プレイヤーのカメラそのものみたいな無色透明なキャラクターとして最初考えてたんですけど、やっぱり一本ゲームとして完成させてみると、それでもやっぱイーサン・ウィンターズってキャラクターに我々自身もすごい愛着が生まれてて、やっぱりその彼のその後ってどうなるんだろうみたいな、彼の物語って今後どうなっていくんだろうっていうのはやっぱり僕ら自身もやっぱり知りたくなったんですよね。それでやっぱりその続きの作品作るとしたらやっぱり主人公はイーサン以外に考えられないだろうなと思って、それはかなり早い段階で決まったと思ってます。
ヴィレッジでは当たり前ですけども、セブンと同じか同等それ以上の怖いパートは必ずあるんですけれども、そこだけではなくて、ファースト PV 見てもらったら分かると思うんですけど、かなり光源設計がセブンとは打って変わって恐ろしく美しい村というのをビジュアルのコンセプトに立てましたので、その部分はかなり達成できてるんではないかなと思います。
We're really proud of how Resident Evil 7 turned out. So we took elements from that title and really grew them in scale for Resident Evil Village. Not only did we up the graphics and elements of survival horror, but we focused on making the world and the atmosphere all around it feel both beautiful yet terrifying.
セブンになってこれは本当に怖いのかっていうのを、一つずつデザインですね見てった時に、一旦過去のロジックを忘れて恐怖のためにも本当に自分たちで考えて一歩ずつやってったっていう感じですね。それに比べてヴィレッジはもう少しキャッチーで、親しみやすいというか、そっちのデザイン路線を今回多く入れるようには心がけました。
ビジュアルの美しさとか、その本当の意味での作り込みってところは AD の高野を本当に信頼してるので、もう彼に一任はしてるんですけど、やっぱりディレクターとしてはそのエモーショナルな瞬間はどこなんだろうとか、やっぱりそのタイミングで与えたいフィール、その恐ろしさなのか美しさなのか、あるいはなんか残酷さとか他のフィールなのか、やっぱそこを考えて、じゃあそれを実現するための絵作りをしてくれよとかいうのはやっぱ僕の役割だと思ってるので、一つの村っていうとやっぱなんか小さなイメージ持つような人もいるとは思うんですけど、実際今ヴィレッジ見るともう遠くの円形までもうすごいやっぱりリアリティで作り込んでたりとか、もう向こうの山の向こうまでめっちゃ綺麗に作ってるみたいな感じで、ものすごい広がりを感じる舞台として背景ってできてるんで、やっぱそこは実際に自分で歩いてみて、うわすげえこんなとこも行けるんだとか、こんなスポットあるんだとか、こんなとこまで作り込んでんだみたいなっていうのは主観視点でこう見てほしいですね。自分ならではのプレーっていうのがどれだけできるかっていうところを意識してるんですよね。その自分でその困難に対して工夫して立ち向かっていって攻略していくっていう、そういったプレーの幅っていうのはセブンからかなり意識して広げています。なのでやっぱりそこはぜひ自分自身でプレーして、その試行錯誤してやっぱり実際にプレイして体験してほしいなと。バイオハザードってやっぱりそのプレイするホラー映画だと思ってるので、そこは実際プレイしてほしいです。
The first-person perspective works really well to draw you into the world we've created. You'll want to take your time to fully explore the detailed environments and the fully designed set pieces. The only way that you could make it any more immersive, I guess, is to scan yourself and put yourself in the game.
Where did you find this guy?
Give me a break, Pete.
Hey, I only work with professionals.
But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence. The bushes empty. And into the forest deep.
What is it with that creepy story?
It's just a local tale.
絵本を使った理由はですね、すごくいろんなバラエティに富んだ作品になる、商品になるなぁと思ってたんですね。一番良くないのって結構やっぱりいろんな素材が出た後にまとまりきらずにお客さんが何だったんだろうってなっちゃうのが一番まずくて、そこでどんなバラエティなものが飛んできたとしても、もうあたかもすごくいろんなバラエティあるものが一つの書物に収まってるかのような、ちょっとできたらなと思って考えてました。
You really need to play the Resident Evil games to get the full experience. All the little touches and ideas that the designers add are fully realized and come together once you make it through the entire game.
僕はそうですね、ヴィレッジは僕はやっぱりそうですね、イーさんっていう一人の人間の物語を、イーさんっていうそのキャラクターの一つの、イーさんの全てを描き切る作品だと思ってますね。やっぱりその僕もセブンで作り出したイーサン・ウィンターズっていうのを最後まで見届けたいと。それがヴィレッジの一つの軸かなと思ってますね。
Long ago, a young girl went with her mother to pick berries for her father, who was hard at work. But the forest greeted them with a dark, cold silence. The bushes empty. Yet determined to find the berries, the rascal broke free of Mother's grasp and vanished into the trees. Mother's worried cries faded fast as the girl ran on, over vine, under branch, and into the forest deep.
What is it with that creepy story?
It's just a local tale.
You're really into that stuff?
Quit being so paranoid.
No, no! Friendly! Friendly! Who are you? Who sent you? What's going on? They're coming. Who is?
everyone, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to our Resident Evil Showcase. I'm your host, Brittany Brombacher, here to give you a closer look into what Capcom has coming up for the Resident Evil franchise. We'll be kicking things off with some brand new content and an exclusive first look at Resident Evil Village gameplay that you do not want to miss. So without further ado, let's get started.
Hey, think positively, all right? We talked about this.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else.
The castle bell heralds danger. The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again!
Mother Miranda, I regret to inform you that Ethan Winters has escaped that fool Heisenberg. Because he is in my castle and has already proven too much for my daughters to handle. When I find him... No, Mother Miranda. Yes, of course, I understand the importance of the ceremony. I won't let you down.
Can someone please tell me what the hell is going on here?
No. The place is full of nothing but blood and death.
Well, Ethan Winters. There you are.
Who the fuck are you?
Let's see what you're really made of. Ethan Winters.
That was amazing, but I still have so many questions. Like, when can I pre-order this thing? Perhaps producer Pete Fabiano has some answers for us. Let's see what he has to say.
Hey everyone, I'm Pete Fabiano, producer on Resident Evil Village. When we first announced Resident Evil Village back in June, we only mentioned PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. I'm happy to announce we've been working hard to bring the survival horror experience onto current generation consoles as well. Resident Evil Village will also be coming to PlayStation 4 and Xbox One day and date with next gen. The PS4 version can be upgraded for free to the digital PS5 version, and the Xbox One version gives you free access to the game on Xbox Series X through Smart Delivery. It's also my pleasure to tell you exactly when you can get your hands on the game. Resident Evil Village will be available worldwide on May 7th, 2021, with pre-orders kicking off today. Alongside the Standard Edition, we have a few other options for the game. First, we have the Digital Deluxe Edition, available on all platforms. Players will be able to heighten their survival horror experience with extra content, including in-game items that call back to Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. There's also a Collector's Edition for consoles that includes all the Deluxe Edition content, as well as a striking figure of Chris Redfield, a steelbook case, poster, and art book. And for those of you who haven't played the previous entry, we have the Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 7 Biohazard Bundle. This lets you get your hands on the award-winning RE7 while you wait for Resident Evil Village. Pre-order any of these editions, and you'll be able to get your hands on both the Mr. Raccoon weapon accessory, and their Survival Resource Pack, which will offer additional support during the first few hours of gameplay. Finally, digital pre-orders from the PlayStation Store will receive an exclusive Resident Evil Village mini soundtrack.
All right, I've been waiting for this. I know you've been waiting for this. It's time for the world premiere first look at Resident Evil Village gameplay. Alongside this first look, we have Pete Fabiano back to offer some insights as well. Let's take a look.
Now we're here to give you an exclusive first look at Resident Evil Village gameplay. Just like in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, you'll be taking control of Ethan Winters. You'll make your way from the village to the castle. Players will need to get in and search for their kidnapped daughter. As you've noticed by now, Resident Evil Village keeps the first-person perspective. We think it really draws players into the detailed world we've created. You'll see a lot of those little details come to life here. The team put a ton of effort into creating a truly authentic feel. From art design to technology, everything ties in great and creates some beautiful visuals. Now it's time to meet some of the castle denizens. As you'd expect, a warm welcome's not really what's in store for Ethan.
Man blood.
Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Shifting gears a bit, we're finally going to show off some combat. It's not just about shooting. Guarding will also be an important part of the game. Each type of enemy has their own distinct way of fighting, so you'll need to change up your strategy to defeat them. Everyone knows what to do with red barrels, right? Some of you will remember a similar management system in Resident Evil 4. This time around, we've added crafting, which allows you to create items such as first aid and ammo. There's also an assortment of weapons to find and utilize throughout the game.
I've been waiting for you, Mr. Winters.
How do you know my name?
Anyone who is anyone has heard of the likes of you.
The merchant makes a return. This time he's known as the Duke. You'll be going to him to buy and sell weapons, amongst other things. The director wanted to give him a unique look, and you'll often find him in different situations each time you encounter him. He's an interesting fella.
Aha! Aha!
Smash away with your trusty knife. There's plenty of items to find in your travels. Wait, do you hear that? And we've also got extra objectives outside of the main ones. Of course, it goes without saying that there'll be plenty of puzzles to solve for players to move forward. Oh, and plenty of surprises to keep you on your toes.
I haven't cut open a man in a while. Let me string you up, slice your jugular, and just watch.
Well, that's one way to end the video. Now that we've shown you what's in store for Resident Evil Village, let's take a look at the exclusive PlayStation 5 demo. For this demo, players won't be playing as Ethan, but as a character we're referring to as the Maiden. Unlike the actual game, this experience doesn't feature combat or even blocking. We're hoping to have players get a real feel for the visuals and audio as they take the Maiden on her journey to find a way out of the castle. And you can download the exclusive demo on PlayStation 5 today. Of course, we want as many people as possible to get a chance to play. So we'll have a separate new demo available on all platforms, ready for sometime this spring.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of the Resident Evil franchise, with the very first game releasing in Japan back on March 22nd, 1996. Since then, the series has expanded well beyond the realm of video games. From toys and board games, to CG movies, to live-action Hollywood films, Resident Evil has become a cultural icon. Resident Evil continues to offer surprises around every corner, so let's pass it along to producer Tsuyoshi Kanda to hear more about what you can expect in 2021.
Earlier this month, we started inviting players to join a closed beta test. The test won't happen until later next week, but I want to use this chance to reveal more details. With the 25th anniversary of Resident Evil coming on March 22nd, we are excited to celebrate this milestone with our fans. Last September, we showed off a piece of key art showcasing some of Resident Evil's iconic characters to start the celebration. Now, I'm happy to announce what was behind that. Let's take a look. Reverse is one of the ways we're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the franchise, showcasing so many of the characters that fans love. It'll be available for free to anyone who purchases Resident Evil Village, so be sure to follow the Resident Evil social channels for the latest news. And check out the official website for even more details.
On behalf of Massive Entertainment and Ubisoft, congratulations to the Resident Evil team on their 25th anniversary. We can't wait to get our hands on our Reverse. For the occasion, we are bringing a celebration to our game, Tom Clancy's The Division 2. For a limited time, you will be able to collect some of the iconic outfits and items from the original Resident Evil trilogy. Everyone that logs in during the event will get Leon Kennedy's Raccoon Police Department outfit as a warm-up. Now let's have a look at some of these.
皆様こんにちは。バイオハザードの映像作品にてプロデューサーを務めていますカプコンの小林博之です。昨年発表しましたフル 3DCG アニメーションバイオハザードインフィニットダークネスについてお話したいと思います。ゲームでおなじみのレオンとクレアが活躍する物語となっております。時間軸はバイオハザード4の後の、数年後のお話となっておりまして、レオンがスーツ姿でとある場所でゾンビ事件に巻き込まれます。この作品はですね、Netflix にて全世界、配信になりますので皆さんお楽しみください。
Wow, a lot's been happening, and I hope you enjoyed watching. But if you missed anything along the way, don't worry, keep an eye on the Resident Evil social channels and official website, which will be sharing everything from today's show. As a quick reminder, Resident Evil Village is available for pre-order starting today for the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, and Steam for PC. And don't forget, PlayStation 5 owners get a sneak peek through downloadable content available worldwide starting today. It has been an absolute honor to celebrate the amazing Resident Evil leading up to its 25th anniversary with all of you across the globe. I'm your host, Brittany Brombacher, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time.
Here we are. We've seen big, tall ladies. We've seen bug disappearing ladies. We've seen a big, beautiful man selling us things. We've seen a lot of new stuff from this showcase for the Resident Evil Village Direct, the Resi Direct. You're watching GameSpot. I'm Curtin Davina. I'm joined with Timur Hussein and Jean-Luc Seipke, and we're going to get into this very exciting new Resi Direct that's been bestowed upon us and all the thirst traps in it. So, to kick this thing off, we saw a lot of we saw a good chunk of gameplay, more so than we've seen in the past. More specifically, we've seen some combat. We've seen a village. There's a ton of questions. Tam, let's kick it off to you. What do you think, based off of what you've seen and how they're kind of following up Resident Evil 7 with what they did with action and what they kind of gave us glimpses of here in Village?
So I think overall, one of the interesting things is it's hard to get a good read on what kind of Resident Evil this game is. It seems to be a bit of everything. The village part of it is what we've seen in trailers up until this point. You know, the werewolf things, the kind of like old shacks, weird, decrepit looking people. So that created this like distinctly Resident Evil 4 vibe, which is kind of how we've been thinking about it up until this point. Is kind of like a Resident Evil 4 through the lens of Resident Evil 7. This time, however, we got to be inside the castle a lot more, and it feels a little more like the older games, specifically Resi 1, which is, you know, in the Spencer Mansion, and it feels a little more like, you know, you're stuck in this location and you need to get out, which is kind of a bit Resident Evil 7-ish as well. So I think that it's really interesting what they're going for. I'm excited to see how it gels together. I'm wondering if it's like, so one of the news stories that was from a while back was Capcom saying that on the PlayStation 5 it will have no load times, which has me thinking like, is it this big world where you can go in and out the castle and different areas and experience this kind of these different tones and aesthetics and vibes for Resident Evil as and when you please? Or is it kind of like we're doing a hard pivot halfway through the game into, you know, Salazar's castle or whatever it may be, that kind of thing? So yeah, I'm excited to see it from that perspective.
It's kind of, I mean, there's been a lot of speculation leading up to this point, just talking about Resident Evil 4 with this game. It's called Resident Evil Village. The other Resident Evil game that's got a village in it is Resident Evil 4. And then, of course, there's like the subtle teaser that we were going to have a merchant, and then we saw images of an inventory. But this time around, we actually saw that you're going to be managing your inventory, all Tetris-like in Resident Evil 4, which makes my heart black and warm and fuzzy the way I think it should be, considering what we're watching. Anyways, but Jean-Luc, seeing that again, like kind of seeing the reintroduction of these elements that were only seen once, really, in Resident Evil 4, how does that make you feel? Because I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for it. Like, you know, the what I liked about Resident Evil 7 was how it kind of harkened back to the older Resident Evils and brought back the slower pace. And like they've done that, so now that they're like, all right, we're gonna creep some 4 back in there as well. Is like, okay, yeah, like absolutely, I'm excited for that. And then even like they're bringing in crafting, which has been a thing in Resident Evil 3 and stuff like that. I don't mind that either. Like that seems like a nice addition, especially if the game is more open in the way we think it is. Like the ability to kind of like craft and manage resources will become even more important. But man, like that castle, it looks so good. It looks so much like Resident Evil 4 and like the exact ways I want it to, without being like just a rehash. Like it feels like 4, but it feels like its own very unique take. Like I'm not too worried that this game is just going to be just 4 or anything. It feels like it's doing its own thing.
Well, like one thing, and this goes back to kind of what you were talking about with Tam, with like loading screens and going in and out of environments and kind of what that means for the design of the game itself. Now, like Resident Evil 4 is a much linear game in comparison. Like there's some backtracking, like enough to kind of like mirror its the DNA that comes with the Resident Evil games. But like through and through, that game is a 20-hour point A to point B. This game, one of their big pushes is putting Village in the title. It's like, you know, the making sure we know as players that Village is a character in of itself. Now, considering all these things, I'm kind of really hoping in some way that we get that Resident Evil 4 aesthetic, which is crystal clear. But if we can dial that back, like the gothic horror, like a tidbit more action into like the backtracking puzzle kind of environment discovery thing. That's what I think, or at least that's what I'm hoping for. Like, I don't know if like, what do you think about that? If that's a possibility and if that's something you even want to see, considering what they did so well in Resident Evil 7, kind of like branching 7 and 4 together here.
Yeah, I think the tricky thing is like the parts of Resident Evil 7 that I enjoyed most were in the front to middle end when it started to kind of crescendo into, you know, getting stuff done, and Ethan kind of had to shoot his way out of most of his problems, and the whole ship bit, that was kind of the part that I enjoyed the least. It took me out of that. It felt like a pivot away from what it had been that entire time. I'm hoping that by having this kind of castle and village element, it's a little more like even in terms of it's not going to be like the end of this is pure action focused. I think the thing that really I struggled with was up until that point, the action in Resident Evil 7 was considered and a little more deliberate. And that's how it kind of looks here as well. I know that a lot of people I've seen online are being like, oh, it looks very slow and it looks very, it doesn't look like it's quick gunplay or anything like that. But to me, that's not what Resident Evil is. Like the slow, deliberate, pick your shots, make sure that every bullet counts experience of Resident Evil's combat harkens back to the same stuff as, you know, the Resident Evil 1, Resident Evil 2 gameplay style. So I do want some of those action moments. I just don't want it to be stuffed together right at the end, because then that means that they feel the need to make this ending be really bombastic in a over-the-top way. And I think that's where 7 kind of not lost me, but I felt like up until this point, you were this really smart, like cerebral, tense game, and then you became a action game right towards the end. And I was like, I could do without that.
7 felt like it was odds at itself. Like it was trying to do this thing where it was going back to its like to its original RE roots, maybe even in a light way. Like they had backtracking and exploration, and the puzzles were there. I'll just say that because I don't think they were all that complicated. But I think if you can find a balance of, it's like the thing that Resident Evil has always done well as a franchise for me is survival horror is pitting you in such a way that you have just enough to be able to fight your way through something while being terrified. And it's that harrowing experience of like, you can look at a hallway filled with zombies and you can kind of do that equation in your head, be like, do I have enough ammunition to deal with this? Should I deal with this? But there's always that chance you could. And I think like, obviously there's some other installments in this franchise that just did away with that and became a Hollywood action film. And that's fine. They're great in their merit, or at least I like them. Anyways, so if this game could balance those two things, and I think just seeing from those gameplay clips, like there might be a chance, because like even when he was going, there was a sniper rifle I think I saw in the inventory management stuff. But if if you can limit the ammunition, but just give a little enough firepower and like enough enemies that create that tension throughout, I'm here for it. I want it. Now I want to move on to the thirst traps of this game, because this game, on all accounts, is very thirsty. From the voluptuous tall woman to the mysterious sunglasses man who apparently seems to have superpowers, something that the ground is floating. And then there's, of course, our big, beautiful merchant man. When did Resident Evil get so thirsty? What happened? Jean-Luc, break it down.
Sam,
you go.
I was gonna say, like, I think it's always been low key thirsty. Like this, everyone loves different characters from everyone in the Resident Evil franchise has got like they're clearly a model of some sort, and then we've splashed some blood and some mud on them. And then I think where it really turned was Mr. X, where people were like, I think Capcom looked at the internet and were like, why are people into this giant man who terrorizes you the entire time? Oh, it's because he's well dressed and has a top hat. So then they went into, now they've gone, not only did they go into like, let's give tall vampire lady this incredibly like outstanding outfit where she just looks so put together and is clearly evil and is very tall, but they were like, let's give her some crazy daughters and let's see what the internet does with it. And the internet, I can confirm, is having an absolute field day. The guy with the glasses, I'm not sure who he is exactly, but I have a theory. The tall lady mentions her idiot brother a few times and says Ethan escaped him. I think that might be tall lady's brother. I think they mentioned in the actual trailer a couple times the name Heisenberg, which is not the Breaking Bad character. She mentions him as a someone she knows. So I think the glasses man is Heisenberg, and it's tall lady's younger brother. He is got some weird like Brad Pitt vibes to me, like, disheveled Brad Pitt. I don't know.
People can say like Van Helsing, like
yeah, he does.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Yes.
Yeah. And then like
Javier Bardem.
Yeah, and then obviously the Duke is just the Duke. You know what? I thirst for the confidence he has in himself, and I thirst for how at ease he is with his situation, and I thirst for like the relative peace of mind he seems to have in just being in that place but not being too worried about it. I wish I had that kind of self-esteem.
When it comes to thirst traps, I think what happened is that they saw what happened with Mr. X, that wonderful stone-faced goon, but then they made the game go first person, and then like, okay, we can't have our soap opera model like cast of Resident Evil, and now we see the game through the eyes of Ethan Winters. We have to make everything else just as beautiful and thirsty. So like they had to switch that perspective. They had to get that in there somehow, and they did it with this. Now I want to move on to the demo that came out today, and I'm trying to wrap this conversation up because I don't want to talk to you guys. I want to play that. But while we're here, and while some of you may be downloading it at home, this is more like from the looks of it, similar to the Resident Evil 7 kind of demo that they released, where it wasn't really a part of the game. Jean-Luc, what do you think about that? Are you downloading it right now as we speak?
My girlfriend is attempting to download it right now for me.
Okay, good.
She can't find it. We'll keep searching after.
They said today. They said, they didn't say immediately. They said today.
I remember the E3 where they announced the Resident Evil 7 demo, and we were like desperately running around trying to find a PlayStation to like plug in and download it. It seems like it's going to be very similar to that demo, where it's not directly like you're not playing the same character, but you're put into a slice of the game environment and kind of left to explore around. I'm curious if they will update that demo the way the Resident Evil 7 demo kind of had like a couple updates and they added some things. I just want to poke around it and find all the little secrets in it. So yeah, you bet I'm going to be checking that out.
The one thing I'm pretty stoked about. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, and then they said there's another demo coming later, which will be like a more proper slice of the game. So
yeah.
Looking forward to that too.
From the looks of it from Maiden, I'm sure we'll all be able to talk this later tonight when we get it. I think it's cool that it looks like they're trying to, that you're going to be hiding from one of the sexy daughters So at least there seems to be some element there rather than the RE7 demo where you were just kind of going along a fairly narrow path down that one. So I'm interested to see if there's going to be some replayability and some funky things, like you said, to be able to find some stuff as well. And then going off of that, we do have an official demo coming out. I think they said spring. So the game's coming out May 7th, which is fantastic. That's awesome. That's way sooner than I anticipated.
I have a breaking news story for Resident Evil. Tall lady is reportedly called Lady Dimitrescu.
Lady step in my throat.
Yeah, that is her name.
Lady string me up and rip out my guts. What did the one daughter say on the stream?
All right, well, there we go. What is it? Lady...
It's like Dimitri, but Escu at the end. Dimitriescu.
Dimitriescu.
Yeah.
My beautiful lady.
Yeah, there she is.
So next thing to talk about is something that Capcom keeps doing, and I give them so much respect for doing it, and that is Reverse, the new multiplayer Resident Evil thing they're doing, that they've done, they keep doing. They're doing it, and this one looks like a death match. Tam, what do you take away from that?
It looks like they keep trying. I'm not really sure why they keep trying. Like, they don't really support any of these multiplayer games long enough for them to make an impact. Like, the one that came with Resident Evil 3, like, are people just going to abandon? I mean, if it hasn't already been abandoned, like, are people going to move on? I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is. Like, it's kind of weird. I'm willing to give it a try, but it looks a bit janky, and I mean
that's kind of what it always is. Like, they put these things out and you give it a try, and it always feels like Capcom's kind of like public test on trying things out, which I give them a lot of merit to doing that. At least it's something like a free attachment to Resident Evil Village, as the other one was to Resident Evil 3. But yeah, there it is.
It's there. Like, it comes free to anyone that purchases Resident Evil Village. So, like, I'll give it a shot, but I don't believe for any reason that it has any staying power, because Capcom just seems to abandon their multiplayer. Just make a proper, give it a good, honest try. Like, Outbreak 3, put a good Mercenaries mode into something, like, just do something like that instead of being like, we've created this cobbled together thing that might work, might not, and you probably won't remember it exists in 2 months' time.
Honestly, it's funny you say that, because I think the Resident Evil 6 Mercenaries mode is like, the online for that was fantastic. I had a great time with that. This one seems to have a good one. Yeah. Just put that out again. I'm fine with that. We would all be fine with that. It looks like it has a big old roster of characters to play. And Jean-Luc, I need to know, who's your top pick? Who are you going to want to storm around punching your buddies with?
Well, I liked I appreciate that they don't just have like the main characters. Like, they also have like Mr. X and stuff. They had the sewer monster from Resident Evil 3, the big tongue boy, and I was like, can I play as
better
him?
the tofu block.
If I could play, oh, there you go. If I could play as I'll play the matcha tofu one.
Yeah, I'm gonna main Lady Dimitrescu. Like, if she's in there, I'm maining her.
She's not in there.
It's weird.
I hope she doesn't attack. She just like talks crap about other people. It's just like, you are a
Okay, you know what? If I could play as Jack Baker, and I specifically have the unique ability to bust through walls, 100% Jack Baker. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, that's a good call.
See, and that's the thing. I think if, like, here we are creating the Capcom, if you're watching this, take it. Just take it. Put Tall Lady in there, have her insult other players from a distance, make Jack Baker be able to burst through walls like they're made of paper. Just take it. Take it. Also, where's Barry? I didn't see Barry in there. Okay.
There's no Barry.
All right. So now it's kind of like, we kind of already had a little speculation earlier, but I kind of want to go into like uber speculation mode, because we still didn't see everything. And I have quite a lot of questions. And one thing here, like, we've had co-stars to other Resident Evil games come and go, but this one is a bit different because we got Javier Bardem, Hugh Jackman vampire hunter boy who apparently has like magical powers of some kind. And then, of course, we have the Duke, which we've seen in the past. But there's also this whole village of characters that we didn't see this time, but in previous trailers, they've had their time. Like they seem to be integrated in the story in some way, shape, or form. So let's speculate for a second. We have if we have a sandboxy-ish Resident Evil game, what do we think the likelihood is of having branching side quests? Maybe even a skill tree. Tam, take it away.
I think that might be adding too much to the Resident Evil experience. I think they'll do the thing where you get to know certain characters within. I think they really need to sell the idea that the stuff that happens in that castle and the people that live in there are real bad. And I think they do that by letting you play through the village stuff and talking to the village people, not the band, the people in the village. And like they, you know, you'd be like, they tell you about how awful they are and the things that they've gone through while, you know, the people, the Dimitrescu family live in opulence within this castle. It could be like this metaphor for like, or like this kind of allegory for classism and that kind of stuff. Who knows? But I feel like you're going to spend a good amount of time getting to know people and characters within the village first, and work your way up to being able to get into the castle and rescuing your daughter. You'd figure out where your daughter is first of all, and why she's been taken, and whether that werewolf is Chris Redfield or not.
I mean, they showed that image of Chris Redfield, half wolf man, and he's big and bulkier in this than he was at the end of Resident Evil 7. Jean-Luc, let's speculate a bit. Let me ask, what do you want to see in this game that we haven't seen yet, or just as a dream thing to have in a Resident Evil game? On the spot.
If we're going by the structure of other Resident Evils, or specifically 4, you got your village, you're going to get your castle, so they're going to have there's probably going to be a third act that they're kind of leaving as a surprise. I'm hoping that will be like a fun twist. I'm trying to rack my brain about what that could even be. Like, I just go back to other Resident Evils, like, oh, you could go to an island, or you could go to a boat, like in 7 did. But I don't want any of that. Like, I want there to be this like surprise third act after the castle, where it just goes in this like insane direction that Resident Evil always loves to do, to maybe mixed results, as you guys kind of mentioned. Like, you know, 7 maybe did fall a little short compared to the rest of it. But I always like when they just get like really out there and weird with it. I mean, you know, they could do anything. Wesker could come back. They could bring back Jake. He hasn't shown up in a Resident Evil in a hot minute. I don't think they'll do that, but they could. Who knows?
I mean, who knows what that baby is? And I'm hoping that baby is the final boss. And to follow in the formula of all of Resident Evil games, I hope you get a rocket launcher to that baby, which is Ethan's baby. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Ethan's going to blow up his baby.
You're going to have okay, look, it's a Resident Evil game. You're going to have a rocket launcher as the final send off of the game. And we got this baby. That's assumably Ethan's baby. What that baby is, what it's doing. Chris Redfield took it. Maybe he's trying to turn into a werewolf. And how else are you going to exterminate werewolf baby other than a rocket launcher? I don't know. And what if Ethan was a vampire? He's surrounded around beautiful vampire women. Who wouldn't subdue to?
Yeah, I mean, if I was in this situation, I'd be like, bite me, take me.
Yeah, take it, take the wrist, take the neck. Anyways, that's the thirst trap of Resident Evil Village. That's taking me down this rabbit hole. Okay, so here we are. That was great. And also, how we can't forget that Leon Kennedy's in a suit at the very end for the Netflix thing, which we've seen already. They showed that already.
Yeah, they showed that they had no real update to it other than I think it takes place after Resident Evil 4 and Leon has a suit. Cool.
Yeah, well, that's the tie into Resident Evil 6 we're looking for. That's your chance, Jean-Luc, to get Jake back in there. Because if anything, I hope the series ends with where 6 left off, and that crazy blockbuster of a roller coaster gets to carry on through a Netflix special, which is probably where it best belongs. Okay, am I leaving anything out? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's everything. Demo is out today.
Release
pre-order.
Yeah, which reminds me, we need to wrap this up because I need to go
Check
see
out
if that's
the demo.
available, or at least pretend and wait patiently to see it. So thanks for joining us, folks. If you're still here, sticking around, all that jazz, make sure to keep sticking around in the future because we're going to have tons of Resident Evil Village content on the way, and you should be sure of it. So if you're not already, make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Kurt_Indivina. Follow Tam at Tamor. It's just, what is your thing? Tamor H. And then we have Jean-Luc. What's your thing?
Oh, at Jean-Luc Seipke.
Yeah, follow those dudes. And me, if you want. You don't have to. You can do whatever you want. Anyways, and before we go, a few things I want to plug. We produced 2 episodes of a show called Remember When about Resident Evil. So if you're still feeling the itch while you're here and while you're waiting for that maiden demo, make sure to go to our YouTube channel and search for Remember When Resident Evil. We got an episode about the wonky, goofy, infamous soundtrack that was composed by a supposed deaf composer for the second game. And then we have a new one examining how Resident Evil 4 was supposed to be a GameCube exclusive and then wasn't, and how that whole thing unraveled. Tam, is there anything you want to put in there?
I think that's pretty much everything. We did a series of GameSpot Studios a little while back that was pre-Resident Evil 7, where we went to Japan, and it's fun. I was watching it the other day because it's fun to go back and look at like our like preview / interviews with them, knowing what the game ultimately became. So that's kind of like a fun little thing to check out. But otherwise, yeah, that's pretty much it. Just play Resident Evil, find a Resident Evil game that you like and play it. It's a good series. Have fun.
Dude, I swear by Revelations 1 and 2.
Good
I love
games.
those games. Jean-Luc, plug some stuff.
Well, nothing that you can watch right now, but if you stick around in a day or so, we will probably have some video talking about the maiden demo. I think we're going to try and deep dive in and see if we can uncover some juicy secrets for it that we can share with all of you.
Sweet. All right. Again, thanks you all for joining us, for being a part of our thirsty journeys with Resident Evil Village. Till next time. See you folks later. Goodbye.